Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So, I came across this video. I wasn't sure of the video from the onset because I knew there was so many false information, right, from the video. So, I decided to also dig deep to find out more about the video, only to find out that the young man was spreading false information or false narrative about Black people on the internet. And not just only that, target Black history. I am going to say this. I mean, it is not okay coming to use Black people or Black history to probably get traffic or get views for your channel. A lot of people have been doing this and they think it's dope, like it's something they can easily do. But then what shook me is that so many Black people also are in the comment section, like agreeing to what he was saying. And then it's really amazing how people look for a way to, like, say that transatlantic slavery never happened and all that, that it was just all false, and the slave voyages were never real. And so he also brought out his own, data to say if there was something like this, how did it happen? How did they like transport so many people, or from this point in time to the other point and all that? I mean, some people sometimes do not understand how history or how all this happened, and how history also, the history of transatlantic slavery, but they just want to like look for a way to gaslight Black people. Let's get into.
So the transatlantic slave trade managed to transport 12 million people in a span of 350 years, with an average of 400 people per trip, with each trip taking about 2 months, meaning that they would have to transfer around 35,000 people per year in a highly coordinated, constant flow of ships from Africa to North America without error for 350 years, with factors like weather, navigation challenges, ships maintenance and repair. On average, ships lasted 10 to 20 years, mortality rates being 10 to 50% per trip, conflicts and piracy. Only about 70 to 75% of the ships that made that trip ever completed their voyages successfully, meaning that this process was fraught with interruptions and challenges and far from smooth and inefficient. Taking into consideration all these factors would make this process last over 5,000 years. This would mean there would have to be 86 trips per year that went flawlessly. 86 ships carrying 34,000 people, 35,000 people flawlessly. Now, given all the problems that we just went over, this would make the probability of 86 ships flawlessly making it to the Americas from Africa at 0.000000018%. The probability of maintaining such a perfect success rate is nearly zero. But the transatlantic slave trade managed to transport 12 million people in 350 years flawlessly, when it theoretically would take 5,000 years. Got it? So the transatlantic slave trade managed to transport 12 million people in a span of 350 years, with an average of 400 people per trip, with each trip taking about 2 months.
It never fails. There's always a pasty, dusty, musty, Caucasus Mountain adjacent glizzy swallower, always capping for white supremacy when it comes to the history of Black people. And today's white supremacy glizzy swallowing contestant is I Believe in Me Psychology, who is trying to disprove the transatlantic slave trade by the numbers.
Success rate is nearly zero, but the transatlantic slave trade managed to transport 12 million people in 350 years flawlessly, when it theoretically would take 5,000 years. Got it?
What's that line from Forrest Gump? Stupid is as stupid does. Well, I believe in me psychology definitely falls into the does category. So let's get into the research over me search. Because the transatlantic slave trade forcibly displaced some 12.5 million Africans between the 17th and 19th centuries. And that is a conservative estimate. And take into account, only about 10.6 million of those people survived the Middle Passage or the transatlantic slave trade. And there's literally documentation of slave voyages. And you can go to Emory University's website, and documenting slave voyages is literally a research project there. That has been a research project there for over a decade and a half. And the information I will be presenting is from Exploring the Origins and Forced Relocation of Enslaved Americans Across the Atlantic World. The Slave Voyage site now provides resources detailing more than 36,000 slave trading voyages between Africa and the New World. And we're just going to deal with those 36,000 voyages. You can even find the schematics of typical slave ships on the site, like this one that carried 345 slaves. And there are plenty of documented independent sources that also can be used in correlation with the Emory University's findings. The number of people carried off from Africa reached 30,000 per year in the 1690s and 85,000 per year a century later. More than 8 out of 10 Africans forced into the slave trade crossed the Atlantic between 1700 and 1850. The decade 1821 to 1830 saw more than 80,000 people per year leaving Africa in slave ships. This is all documented research, but no, you all are only good at me feeling search. And although slave ships varied from carrying 10 slaves to carrying 700, we're going to go with the number per voyage that you provided yourself.
So the transatlantic slave trade managed to transport 12 million people in a span of 350 years, with an average of 400 people per trip.
You know what? We're going to take the 36,000 voyages that the Emory research has provided us with, and instead of using your 400 figure, I'm going to use the 345 figure carried by this slave ship as an average between 10 and 700. Back to research for just a moment, because if you want to look up slave ships and the sizes they ranged from, like the ones that carried 10 or the slave ships that carried up to 700 enslaved people, you could literally Google that also. But back to the math. So using the 345 figure for 36,000 voyages, let's see what the math says. Okay, Google, what is 36,000 times 345?
36,000 times 345 is 12,420,000.
12,420,000 displaced Africans during the transatlantic slave trade, and that is conservative. It doesn't matter how many of those ships wouldn't have made it once their cargo was loaded on it. We know that of those 12.6 million Africans displaced by the transatlantic slave trade, only about 10 million of them made it to their destination. And there are those who might attribute your lack of ability to do research over me search to the number of blows to the head you most likely took in a boxing ring. And they would be wrong, because it's the proximity to Caucasus Mountains that has firmly lodged the glizzy of white supremacy in the back of your throat for a long time. Now, you all have the day you deserve, and may the ancestors judge you accordingly.
Constant flow of ships from Africa to North America.
Believe it or not, people are still falling for this denial of the transatlantic slave trade. And interestingly, it's coming around the time of more and more push toward reparations. The number of 12 million he gave is mostly true, except it was probably more than that. Because remember, this was the largest forced movement of human beings in human history. Yet more and more people who are not experts in geography, not experts in maritime history, not even experts in history, are denying it, in spite of the fact that of the 12 million, only 5% ended up in North America. That's why you see the numbers that you do. 95% ended up in South America, Central America, the Caribbean, and otherwise Latin America. Hello? And 45% of those ended up in Brazil alone. Additionally, the primary sources are more valid than his weird math. When you look at slavevoyages.org, and they're just now getting started, they don't even have a small percentage yet because they're still collecting data of all of the maritime records. In addition to that, you have all of the journals and you have all of the memoirs. Primary sources, not just weird math that if you actually look at it won't make sense. And in addition to that, even if you count the black folks who are already here in the Americas, those sent by Mansa Musa and his voyages and other leaders over in West Africa, the numbers will not bear out that this number of people could have resulted from those who ended up in the Western Hemisphere. Where did all those extra Africans come from outside of those who were already here? And moreover, Africans trafficked during the transatlantic slave trade built the economic foundation of all of these Western countries, from Argentina up to Canada, United States, Nicaragua, Peru, Colombia, Venezuela, Jamaica, all of these countries. For the most part, they were using manual labor. That could not have been done without the numbers of 12 million plus. Last but not least, he has the term Black History at the top of his video. But with respect to anything related to trafficking human beings from West Africa to the Western Hemisphere, that's white history, not black.
This is all I got from this video. And the fact that, this video, I added the first clip on a video. I don't know where the video went to, whether it's cimnanya, but I decided to go deeper into this because I wasn't absolutely super sure, and decided to check around, and then found out that this young man had the audacity to use Black history, like the woman said, to get traffic and all that. The truth is that a lot of people think Black history is just something that they can use to get traffic, or something that they can, come out on the internet and look for a way to confuse people. The truth is that there are other people that are very confused too about history. So when they see things like this, they easily, especially when they don't know, and some people do not even take their time to make research, and they just concur and agree with the video and move on, because the comment section also tells me that a lot of people absolutely agree with him. And so we are saying that I have discussed this with my cousins, and they are fine, they are in denial, because to him there was never there was never transatlantic slavery. That is what he's trying to prove to us, that how did they get to transport all these people, forgetting that is it just one ship that they had? That could be multiple, right? So why is he trying to, like, I mean, this is more like the whitewash kind of history people come out here to, like, tell, and the rest of it. But I love the fact that other people also decided to, like, enlighten people more on this. And the truth is that each time I talk about CRT being something that everybody needed to, like, learn and understand, it is really very important, because people think it is an opportunity for them to come out, like, and spread, because this is what I call a false narrative, and spread it here, like they got the right to, like, spread it, or they say it, like, I mean, like, they have it, like the information they got is like firsthand and all that, but it is what it is. And some of these videos also are very problematic, because but then sometimes you feel like there is a demographic that they are looking for, or they are making out this video for. Some of them are not probably looking for a way to educate Black people. It's just a way to turn around and gaslight people, or turn around and look for other people to come in support of them and all that. But still, I saw so many Black people in his comment section trying to say that, we are the real people. We were here before that there was nothing like a transatlantic slavery, a chattel slavery, and the rest of it. But then I decided to go deeper and know, like, understand more, and then bring it back here. And I think this is really very important, that we get our facts right before coming out here on the internet to spread some racist rhetoric, And yeah, it is what it is. This is not Black history. And you shouldn't come out to spread false information or misinform people on something you are not aware of. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.